Why are you here?
I'm here to lick the floor, mate.
But you have plastic glass.
We're just blocking roads and raising public awareness.
Do people realize how serious the problem is?
We're here to stay and we're not going anywhere.
If we don't do it now, when? If not us, who?
Rebellion!
What's happening in these 5 days here in London?
Lots of things. It's hard to know where to begin, but it's all to do with Extinction Rebellion, which is a protest against climate breakdown. So we've set up camp in 5 different sites initially: Piccadilly Circus, Waterloo Bridge, Oxford Circus, Marble Arch and Parliament Square, and we're just blocking roads and raising public awareness about climate breakdown.
Why are you here?
So I heard about it through various news websites while I was at work, and of course the biggest issue is the political inaction over climate change. So ultimately the failure of governments to listen and actually take proactive action in order to reduce carbon emissions and switch to more sustainable forms of energy. And the whole point of this is to get it into the public awareness, because what it does is it changes the narrative that we tell ourselves about our societies and our economies. It changes the terms that people use, it changes the focus that people have, and you can't deny climate science anymore. And so essentially this is what we do to raise public awareness, get the politicians to listen and actually force a change rather than wait for one.
Well, we're here because I'm very worried about the climate for my future, for my children, and they can't vote. So I feel it's their right. I feel their duty as their parent to come along and make a protest. And I actually work on climate change. It's my day job. But I'm feeling so frustrated. I've been working on it for 10 years, and I think this is the only way to really get attention. So
yeah, we've been here for 3 days, and we've been protesting against all these fucking government people who are building more stuff to make shit, and we're fucking polluting everything. We're dying off. We're killing our people. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to lick the floor, mate.
But you have plastic glass.
I do have plastic, but do you know what I can do with this? Yeah, I can squish this and I can burn it. And I can get rid of this. I can get rid of this myself, like, if you know what I mean.
Well, I'm here. I started to join Extinction Rebellion with the first of the student marches, the youth marches on the 15th of April, and I was really emotionally taken back when you see 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 18-year-olds from all different schools giving their testament in Parliament Square as to why it's so important. You know, when you see a child shaking, but yet they feel they need to stand there and express the horror that they are facing. For me, it was a point which made me change. I reduced my use of plastic across food and everything by 95%. I've attended every one of their marches, and for me, I really feel ashamed as an adult when it takes children to make us stand up, because there have been climate change marches by adults and organisations for decades, but it took the children to put their education on hold to make the world kind of stand up. So for me, I really like the fact that it's above politics. It's not about political parties. This is cross-political, cross-religious, cross-cultural. And what the students are asking, I think, and I totally believe, is a change in the socio-economic and political system of the world. Not just the economic systems. That is just one aspect, but it's how we organise and what's the world that we want to live in. You know, this is fundamentally what we need to change, not just our habits, but how do we want to live as a community, as people, as humanity on a planet that is finite.
The Oxford Circus site has been cleared pretty much by police who've formed a ring around the centre of Oxford Circus. I don't know how long they're going to stay there because, of course, when they go, everyone's going to come back. Yesterday, when they tried that around the boat, kettling the boat, as it were, XR kettled the police, so the police couldn't get out. So they had to negotiate with us how the boat left, which just shows the power of people and the gentle power of people, because this was negotiated between us and the police.
What do you think? Do people realize how serious the problem is?
Yeah, that is the tragic thing, that a lot of people just think it's all a complete load of rubbish. You've still got climate change deniers out there. This is another reason why we're here, to get that message out, get that information out, get the facts and figures out there, tell the truth. People need to realise that there's an oncoming apocalypse that is like 10, 12 years away. If we don't act now, it will be too late. When you look at areas of the world like Mozambique, like the past 3 years in Mozambique, there's just been total floods. It's not on the news. This is totally to do with climate change. Like, people are being drowned and washed away. Over the past years, we've seen across the Mediterranean more fires. There's like in England now, Saddleworth Moor on fire in February. I mean, it's just like, what is a moor in northern England doing on fire in February?
I was surprised by how many people, I think, all agree that there is a problem, but maybe people don't understand quite how urgent the need for change is. That actually things, that, like you say, do people understand how little time there is? No, I don't think so. And how?
What's going to happen after these 11 years? What do you think? I know you don't know exactly, but what do you think?
Well, I hope that we're going to get to 11 years' time and we'll have made the changes that we need, and we'll just about keep life within a margin that not too many species die out, and that we can live a sustainable world. But if we don't, if not, well, already it might be too late for coral reefs. Already research is saying we've lost 70% of insect populations. They're the things that pollinate our crops. We're in deep trouble already. If things don't change very, very quickly, then we're talking about climate breakdown. That's chaos. That's not just human life. That's suffering for human beings all over the world. That's mass extinction. All this will just, it won't exist.
We need bigger powers to help us, so the government, industry, companies, to try to help us.
They can help us
by changing how they manufacture things, by changing how they do things, how they just extract things from the soil and all of these things. So they are the one with the power, with the money. So it will trickle down anyway, because when we go, I'll be trying to reduce my plastic consumption. It's been really hard and I haven't managed to do that. And I think I can understand, because the things that we go and buy, everyday people, they're just trying to bring food on the table. So for them, it's not the plastic that I'm buying, it's the food for my children. So if big companies repackage their food, they're able to say, okay, I'm not thinking about the plastic, but I'm buying the food that has been transformed by how people in power are packaging their own food. So I think it's gone beyond individuals now. It's people higher up that needs to do that. And I think, relating to your question as well, I believe, in my view, that human beings were really good at looking at the short-term vision and not the long-term vision. So we're looking at what's affecting me right now, and we're not so good at looking at the bigger picture. So I think sometimes it's about letting people know, actually, it's your children, your grandchildren, so it's closer to you than you think. So it's about talking like this and having a conversation and trying to change mind and hearts.
There is going to be change one way or another. There will either be voluntary change that we make to alleviate the stresses that global warming will cause, or there will be major catastrophic change that global warming will inflict upon us. And that will include droughts, it will include crop losses, it will include starvation, it will include mass migrations of people out of areas that are no longer sustainable for human life.
So the 12 years is just a number that's been generated by this conservative scientific study. It's probably a much shorter than that, and that's when it gets to 1.5 degrees and above, and we're talking mega droughts, mega storms, mega floods, all of that stuff. And so what the result of that is some of the bread baskets of the world are going to collapse. We've only got three major bread baskets in the world. That's the majority of human food comes from these three places. If one or two of those have a failed harvest for a year or so, 1 year is devastating, 2 years, and then we're talking about this societal collapse. We're talking about there is not food on the shelves of the supermarkets, and then there's widespread panic, and we don't want to get to that situation. We're probably going to get there, but we're sounding the alarm to say, hang on, let's do things differently, and let's build things as humans differently so that we don't get there.
People say we have 12 years left. Do you know what does it mean? Can you explain? What does it?
We're breaking
the ozone layer.
We're breaking our atmosphere. We are cracking the atmosphere. And that is slowly going to radiate us, and we're slowly going to die off. And we're not about that, man. We just why can't we live off the land? Why can't we live off the land? Why do we need to eat meat? Why do we need to kill these innocent animals? And why can't we just live off what we've been given instead of eating more things that have a heartbeat and have a brain? And
Is there something you want to say to the people, to the government? Is there a message?
Yeah, I think there's three demands that are being made to the government. So the first is for the government to speak the truth and to talk more openly with its public about what is actually happening in terms of climate change and making that a public thing, and not waiting 2 years for there to be a public hearing after a youth climate strike in Parliament. So it should be being discussed regularly and being dealt with. The second is to address emissions and by zero by 2025, and the third is, which I think is very exciting, is a citizens' assembly approach to addressing climate change. So rather than it being held by political parties, it's held by the people who are going to be influenced. So that takes it away from the influence of big companies, power industries and all of those things, and rather takes it down to the citizens in order for them to be making those decisions, getting the information and working out what do they need to do.
If we don't do it now, when? If not us, who?
We're here to stay and we're not going anywhere. Our lives depend on this. So we've had 800 people arrested so far, and we don't care. We're coming back again, and people are coming back, getting arrested time and time again, because this is really significant. And we're there to show that the criminal system as it stands is unjust, and we are trying to get justice put in place. We're trying to restore democracy and upgrade democracy for something that's fit for the 21st century. Electoral politics is over, it's ended, and it's dead. We need to move on. Citizens' assemblies, people coming together and making decisions together, informed about the whole issue. That's the future, and that's what we need to do.
Do you think that the government is going to take action after these 5 days?
No, they're not.
No, definitely not. They don't listen. They will never listen.
Rebellion! That's why we need to make it louder.
Yeah. They'll never listen, but...
So we all need to stick together. We need to hold hands in this community. And fuck the big people, yeah. We're here. We're all the little people.
Yeah.
We're the little people, mate.
I think it's not just about the government reacting. Ultimately, that's the ultimate aim. But I think it's also about raising public awareness, keeping it on the agenda, keeping the pressure up generally. So let's see. We hope so.
I think we need to find ways of acting that nudge the government into action. And we've had 25 years of knowing that this crisis was developing around us, that global warming was becoming more and more of an issue. And the last 2-3 years, what we thought was 100 years away has just come running down the tracks to us. And we're at the point now that if we don't do something about it, we're going to have a real crisis on our hands, not just us, but our children and our children's children. And they're going to look at us in generations to come and go, you had the party and you left us the mess to clear up.
Well, they haven't so far, but we're not planning on moving until they do. Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. It's evolving, it's changing, it's growing. There's so many more people here. There's so many more new people coming along who are interested, who are seeing us all over the news and social media. So it's unpredictable. But it's really exciting and positive.
Well, hopefully they will, because the problem with our current government and a lot of governments is that they are only bothered about money, the economy, looking good on the books in this instant. There's no long-term view. It's not sustainable to keep pillaging and raping the planet. Eventually the whole lot will come crumbling down. We're trying to get people to wake up and realise that before it's too late. That you can't have economic growth on an uninhabitable planet. So we need to start thinking about, with the numbers of humans there are on this planet, how we can sustainably feed them, make sure they've got clean water, that everyone's got a roof over their head. So sadly the best way to hit government is to hit them where it hurts the most, in the pocket. So the protests that has been happening here have cost the economy millions and millions and millions of pounds. You know, the big people at the top, that's all they're interested in. They're not going to like it that they have been losing money. So hopefully it will make them sit up and start making some changes for the greater good.